Hey, guys, and otherwise, this is Jonathan O. Roselion.
And I'm Noah, also known as Polyphonic, and you're listening to Horns and Wings, the podcast where we read Saga issue by issue. How you doing today, Jonathan?
Good, especially since we're going to be talking about issue number 10. And, okay, so I've been saving this for the podcast. It has been so painful for me not to tell you this story, but no joke, I actually posed for reference in this very issue.
You posed for reference.
I posed for reference in this very issue.
All right.
So we're going to get into that, but it's the opening splash of this comic. So let's get into it.
I gotta tell you though, before we get into it too, I'm a little excited. I'm a little excited about this issue. This issue may or may not have something that I've been a little excited about for a long time.
You mean every time we cut on a podcast and you're like, I can't wait till we get to this part?
Yeah,
the same part that's in this.
Yeah. It's always this one. We're actually getting to we're getting to like we've gotten through like one Led Zeppelin 1, 2, and 3. We're entering like the 4 and Houses of the Holy phase of Saga right now, where things just instead of being 2 albums, it was like 12.
Mm-hmm. And the podcast, on the other hand, has been firmly planted in Coda territory the whole time.
No. We're talking Jimmy Page 80s solo work territory.
Oh boy.
So what's on the cover of this issue?
Oh, so this is a cool one. This is a nice, cool little action shot here. We're looking at Clara holding up her battle axe against a familiar character that we have not seen in so long. We're seeing her from the back here, but it's Isabel, and they're on the ruins.
God, she's around. I missed her.
And the background is orange this time. It's a nice burnt-ish orange, and I love it.
And what do we get when we turn the page?
Hold on, you go ahead and describe the first page here, because I'm gonna go ahead and make a phone call really quick. So just ignore me. I'll cut it out in post. But okay. Go ahead and okay.
So we turn the page.
Hello,
and we see.
Hello, boner police. Hi, I'd like to report a comic. Sorry. No, I really, I'm in the middle of a phone call, please. Right. Yeah, no, it's raging. It's raging right now. And that's the end of the bit. Bye. Okay, I'm back.
All right. Yeah. So, so we've got Marco, standing topless, and with what I would describe as washboard abs, and just looking jacked and hot as all hell. With a hammer draped across his shoulder, and he says, "Please keep reading." And I say, "Okay." Oh, and also he's got a ball and chain around his ankle too.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about this so bad, but let's do the scene.
All right. I started off, so I guess I'll go here. Ooh. Guess what we get to have?
What do we get to have?
We get to have late night smut reading with Jonathan and Noah.
Oh, yeah. I fucking forgot that we did that thing.
Yeah, so we cut back and we see that Alana is sitting there, presumably guarding Marco as he's doing some kind of manual labor. And she is holding a nighttime smoke, that book that I completely forgot the name of for 3 seconds. And she's reading it to Marco. Should we do our dramatic reading now? Or should we do that after?
You know what? No, let's do the dramatic reading. I will again be the voice of Contessa.
And she said, So Alana says, I love this part, and narrates to Marco. The rock monster blushed, and Contessa worried she'd crossed a line.
It actually looked kind of graceful.
Fuck you, Eames grumbled. Fuck you, Eames grumbled. He held out his hand for help, but Contessa hesitated, suspecting that Eames would just pull her to the ground. Instead, she sat down next to him, smoothing the crease of her skirt. The grass was cold.
I'll take this one. We should just order in tonight.
One of them thought, and another said aloud. They looked up at the clouds, their silence broken only by muffled horn blasts from a distant traffic jam. And so Marco hears this and says, I don't understand. It's like it was written just for me. And he says, no, it's not a love story. It's a metaphor for the war between Landfall and Wreath. But he says the author is speaking in code. And then Alana says maybe he's saying the war has gone on too long, but Marco says, well, maybe he's thinking the war is inevitable and it's an endless cycle of war that can only be stopped with more war. To which Alana says, you're reading too much into things.
Like this whole podcast.
Yeah, reading too much into things. Another name for this podcast. And then Marco says that this has been delightful, but tomorrow he's being transferred to a place called Blacksite. And Alana says nobody comes back from Blacksite, and then shoots his chains off and says, the fuck are you waiting for? And says, like, they leave, escape, or else they'll kill you. And Marco said, what the hell are you doing? How they'll kill you if they found out you freed me. And then they make out.
Yeah.
And we get some good old fashioned Hazel narration that said, yeah, Dad always had a way with the ladies. Well, I mean, have you seen that bod?
Yeah. So yeah, this is such a satisfying flashback. I love it to death. And this is the real meet cute.
I really want to I really like the way that Saga breaks the fourth wall in ways that are cheeky but not like smile and wink at the camera.
Yeah, it's more meta than actual fourth wall, straight like Deadpool style fourth wall breaking.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Very reader conscious.
But it's also done in a very kind of like, I mean, this is probably the most overt way, but generally it's done in a very kind of subtle, that works within the story, and it's done where you have characters looking at you. I mean, the last issue ended on this kind of fourth wall break too, with Slave Girl pointing right at you.
Which, by the way, go check out the video version, the YouTube version of that episode, because that is the animated panel for it, and it looks pretty dang cool.
Yeah, I have definitely seen that.
Yeah. Got your green light that I always get from you. But what would I do without your rigorous editing notes? But yeah, I this is a great. They're always like sort of like, it's never really the characters knowing things they shouldn't know and stuff like that, and referencing things sort of out of character. It's always just very clever. A lot of transitions. Where it'll like the Will in the first issue saying what kind of monsters would bring a child into this universe or whatever, and then cut to Alana and Marco, and Alana says boom. And yeah, it's very almost grounded fourth wall breaking, and I like it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think the other thing, now that we've had a few passages and a few references, I think we should really sit down and talk about how awesome the concept of a nighttime smoke is. Yeah.
So I kind of am very upset that it's not just something I can read, because I absolutely would.
I feel like this is the thing, is like, it would also be like mind-numbingly boring to read. But part of the point is, in this world where like where basically where like war is such a constant, like reading about just like a calm, lazy evening at home becomes a radical idea, and I think that's
especially when it's two different species together doing that.
Exactly. And I think that's such a it's and it has the star-crossed lovers. It's like the Layla and Majnun, the Romeo and Juliet, like those kinds of tropes. Definitely not just dropping Layla and Majnun because I was working on a Layla video earlier today.
Of course not. Yeah.
I just casually know my Persian literature.
Yeah. Always that's all we talk about anytime we're not on mic.
But it's like that trope, but instead of like drama and killing each other, they just hang out like. And that's so beautiful because that's what great relationships are, is just like shooting the shit and ordering in.
Yeah. And I also love the fact that like we still don't know if any of this is even remotely intentional on the writers, the Lopper nominated writers part.
I love this little snippet of their discussion of books. Maybe that's just me being meta, but that is exactly how I talk about books. Like like reading so much into these little scenes of like two characters flirting with each other.
I would never do that.
Yeah. No.
By the way, the ball and chain is representative of patriarchy. In this scene, obviously. Really quick though, I do want to say I love the design for this ball and chain, because it's just like it looks like a ball and chain, but there's a little strip, like almost like a strip of glass down the middle, and you see something glowing inside of it, and that just immediately in my head, like they don't reference it or say how it works or anything, but immediately in my head I'm like, oh, it's a gravity thing, or it can either get really heavy or really light to transport it. And it's just from this like little strip of light that's on it. And I love that world building.
I completely agree. And I feel like it's something that would make sense developed by, I mean, obviously it's a Mooney that it's locked up with right now, but developed by a race of people with wings to have a gravity ball so that they couldn't just fly away.
Right, yeah. It's such a cool little detail. And then also the fucking for that excerpt we read, even though it's a dialogue balloon, we get that sort of like, I don't know, Times New Roman or something, like a very book.
It looks like a Garamond font. I like Garamonds.
And yeah, it's again phonographics, just doing so much to convey just tone and what's happening and world building. It's real cool.
Also, we have another potential podcast name in this scene. Can you spot it out?
I mean, obviously it's Ma.
You got it. I was gonna go with Secret Book Club.
Oh, I like it. But yeah, he didn't mention that we get the we start with that shot of Marco topless and sexy, and then we get the reaction shot of Alana, and she just says "Ma," because she's so blown away by his sexiness. It's great. We are Alana.
We are all Alana. I like continuing theme from what we talked about last week is the pachow, the noise of her shooting the chain. I think pachow is a very apt noise there. Yeah,
and that's almost like a like that would be an interesting direction choice in a film, like just to have a sound effect off screen and then show the result of that. Like this is just very interesting storytelling, and always non-obvious storytelling, but still very easy to follow, which is such a high wire act. It is very impressive.
So we done with this scene? Do we want to move on?
Let me check my notes. Yep, got it all.
All right. So what happens next, my good friend John?
So thank you. So from that, yeah, Dad always had a way with the ladies voiceover. We use it as a transition to most of them anyway, and then cut to Clara, and we're back on the egg ruins planet that's about to hatch.
For those who might not remember, Clara is Marco's mom.
Yes, and she's in her gold armor with her big battle axe. And she's whining about them still trying to find Isabel, even though the planet's about to hatch, and that she's worried about how hungry newborns are in reference to whatever's in the planet, which is great. And then we get some off-panel yelling, "Who?" And then we see some robed figures. "Who dares disturb our final hour?" And then we get
are these your DM voices?
Yep. Who? Here, I'm going more witchy with it. Who dares disturb our final hour? And
Who dares disturb our final hour?
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to Noah for all the voiceover from now on. And which ironically we are looking at.
Hey, who's disturbing? Who's disturbing my final hour? A midwife in here.
Oh boy! So we see the robed figure, and it's an upside down head, and it's literally just like almost a witch-like person, old woman, but her head is upside down, and her hair is almost making a beard. If you look at the cloak figure from far away, and she says,
and her eyes. Talk about her eyes. They're really cool.
Oh yeah, they're almost like pin light eyes, where it's just these big black holes, and then the just tiny white dots for pupils, and it's terrifying and the coolest. And what's she say in that panel?
Hey, who dares disturb the midwives here?
Perfect. the only criteria, it doesn't have to be consistent at all, as long as you say "here" at the end of it.
I'm clearly an expert at accents.
And then Marco tries to de-escalate, and Clara tries to escalate, and then the midwife shoots a black ink looking thing from her eyes, and it sends Clara flying. And they say, "The
delivery is nigh. We will suck the marrow from your bones and feed it to our A."
And with the A, the midwife notices something, and it's a giant flaming orange gorilla that says "boo" in a very familiar pink font. And then we get one of the best panels ever of the midwives running away from the flaming gorilla that's flipping them off, saying, "Yeah, that's right, flee in terror, bitches." And then Clara...
What a time to be alive.
What a good book. And Marco spots it as a certain someone's illusions, and it's revealed to be Isabel. It says, "Just so you know, this is the third worst babysitting gig I've ever had." And Isabel immediately starts yelling at Clara for banishing her to this planet. Actually, great line here, because Marco says, "Are you all right?" And she says, "No, thanks to this battle axe," which she says to Clara, who is wielding a battle axe. And they're arguing. But then the earth just shatters beneath them. And Isabel is very quickly like, "So yeah, cool if I catch a ride with you guys." And this plant's about to hatch, Noah. That's the end of that scene.
Baby.
And we got Isabel back.
Which I am so grateful for.
Yes.
Isabel just brings so much kind of like sass and so many kind of like modern sensibilities to the world. Isabel just feels like she has like internet sense of humor with the flee and terror bitches and stuff like that.
I'm just thinking about the fact that the midwives are literally in this for 7 panels, and their design is so engraved into my mind.
I completely
Like,
agree.
Years later,
Yeah.
I love it. Is such a cool design, and it's not even like it's not even sort of using the, I don't want to say crutch, but the go-to for Saga, which is a lot of like part animal or humanoid animal,
Or just like part thing.
yeah, just part bodies.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's such a cool concept. I'm so surprised I've never seen it in like a horror movie or anything, of the upside down heads on these midwives.
And just the lore of them too. This is like, when I think of Saga's implied world building, this scene is what makes me think, like, this whole issue is what really makes me think of how strong it is. Like, the midwives, like just the line, who dares disturb our final hour, who dares disturb the midwives. There is like an entire like epic fantasy lore built into that line, right?
Yeah. And then, there's a lot of, we will get, remember the whole them shooting black ink from their eyes, because that will, I will reference that, I guess, next episode. But again, more weird implied world building here of just the interconnectedness of the whole thing. But yeah, this might be my favorite, or like at the very least top 3 character design so far, if not just for the simplicity and terrifyingness.
That would actually be fun to rank our character designs sometime. Maybe that'd be a good in between episodes.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I love is you have this like intense dark mythos of the midwives, and then you have Isabel appearing as a giant gorilla saying boo and saying flee in terror, bitches.
This is honestly like, it is so up there with iconic Saga moments for me. It is such a great sequence.
I clearly remember reading this whole issue for the first time, and this is one of like I think I can almost trace this like this, especially the moment that's coming, to like the point where Saga went from being something really good to being, okay, this might be my favorite thing ever.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's funny because literally the next issue is where I was like, oh, this is actually like a masterpiece. Like, this isn't just like really great, like another solid Brian K. Vaughan book. This is like actually sincerely like,
this is his opus.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting that it's these next couple issues, we hit some already very highs with this series, and I'm pumped for it.
And quickly in this scene, a few things I want to go through. I love this panel of Isabel after she transforms, where like the bits of the transformation are still kind of wispy around her, so she has this kind of like abstract orange glow behind her, which is phenomenal.
I just want someone to make live action recreations of specific parts of this book. Don't turn it into a series, but just honestly, like, if you know what, here's our promise to the listeners. If we ever get enough of that sweet Patreon money and start bringing in those ad revenue from randomly talking about Casper mattresses until they pay us, then I think we should upgrade from the animated panels that we've been doing for the video versions to live action recreations of panels.
Yeah, and if you donate $1 million on our Patreon, you can help us make that.
You know what? I must not have sent you the memo, but I just knocked it down to 100,000.
Oh, just the 100,000 tier? Okay.
Yeah, but it's just within the next 20 minutes of you listening to this.
That's 100,000 per episode, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that's amazing to me about this scene is how Isabel's like character design is baked into the color palette, and it makes her stand out so much, where you have these very muted gray palette, and even like Marco Marco's shirt and like Clara's armor is where you've seen it be like brighter yellow before. It's super faded, and you get the sense that it's dark now. And then you have Isabel, who's this shining red, or when she's in gorilla form, orange beacon in this bleak world, right?
Yeah, and it really contributes to her sort of otherness.
Yeah.
I love that it's not just like, it's such a cool concept for just a ghost.
Yeah.
Which also, let's just acknowledge the fact that a main character in this series is a ghost, and that's great. But yeah, just such just an interesting little idea where it's just like one of those things where it's just like one little detail can make a character so interesting. Whereas like, if the Golden Gate Bridge was painted gray, no one would give a fuck about it. The fact that it's that like red, like it just takes that one cool little detail to make such a big difference.
Well, and I think like building on that, what Fiona Staples does so well is identify these little things and maximize their potential. Right? I think this scene, and also, I mean, even as you say the ghost, the last panel in this scene, I had never noticed this before. You can see a chunk flying through her.
Oh, yeah, you can. A couple of them, yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, I never noticed that before. Yeah.
I love it.
Any other thoughts, or are we good to move on?
I think we should move on.
All right, so we cut out to the rocket ship tree, where we hear someone yelling help, and Alana runs into Bar saying, I broke her, and holding a little piece of something, and Bar says, congratulations, your daughter now has her very own belly button. Turns out it was just an umbilical cord falling out, and then Alana kind of hands Bar over, and Bar starts to rock Hazel and says, don't be so hard on yourself. It takes a lifetime to learn how to be a parent. And by the time you finally start to figure things out, oh God, so emotional. And Alana says that when Marco and Clara come back, he needs to tell them about his illness. And then we get a flash. Hey, I'm flashing here. And in a haze of awesomeness, Marco, Clara, and Isabel arrive, and true to form, Isabel says, sup. And just as everyone's starting to kind of like greet each other, Marco basically says, we need to get the fuck out of here. And then we hear a crank, and some debris from the planet hits the window. Alana says asteroids. Clara says, no, that's part of its shell. And then we get a holy shit. As everyone's looking, we get a "What in the World" with Bar.
And
then it happens, and then we open to the best double splash, possibly that I've ever seen.
This is what this is our third after the big battle in the first one, and then the rocket ship tree reveal of the second one.
Oh my God, yeah! I'm literally just staring at this now. So, do you want to try to describe this?
Sure. So we pull way back. The rocket ship tree is just a tiny little blip on this one of these pages, and we see the Earth, or where that planet used to be. I guess it wouldn't be Earth, huh? We see
Hope not.
We see the planet shattering apart, and inside of it it looks like a three-eyed fetus, dark, like gray-skinned fetus that's sort of wrapped around, I'm guessing, the molten core of the planet. And so there is the planet crust and lava flying everywhere, and it's got those same dark eyes with the little pinprick white pupils in there, and coming from our last "What in the World" line from Bar, we get a line coming from the ship in Isabel's font saying exactly, and we have met what is living inside of this planet, and it's very large, and it's a big old molten three-eyed nightmare baby.
And so quickly before we get right back into that, to finish the scene, we cut back to the spaceship where everyone's losing their shit, and then the spaceship turns magenta, and Isabel says, "I think that means there's another ship closing in on us." And then we pan out and see the onion ship and the rocket ship tree in the same panel. It's all happening.
Shit. Oh man, so yeah, shit is kicking off. So God, what a good issue this is, and we still have a massive scene to go.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, we have met. Which, let me see if they actually say the name of it to make it easier to refer to. Actually, I don't think they say the name of it in this issue, so we're just gonna have to say Planet Baby. For now.
No, we get it. We get it next. Literally the next page.
Is it?
Yeah. It's. Look at the bottom panel of the next page.
Oh, see, I was thinking Bar said it, but it's the Will. Yeah.
Anyways,
so we'll go ahead and reveal that this is called The Time Suck.
Yes.
Which is a very good name for this thing.
Yes. Also a podcast name that we wanted, but it was done already.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good one.
Before we get to the time suck, is there anything else about the scene that you want to talk about?
Let me see.
Other than Bar being the best and such a kind grandfather.
I will say that when Bar is explaining that it was the umbilical stump that came off, he says, perfectly normal. All children start off with one, wings and horns alike. And I don't try to get very critical of this book on this series, but just something seems so off and sort of amateurish about the phrase wings and horns. And I think that it's just not quite there, and you can really just take it up a level. I'm not sure how to just
here. Let me wait. I think I got it. Let me just workshop this with you.
Yeah.
Just no bad ideas. Spin it around.
And you know what? And this is not a negative space. We're just trying to improve upon the text. You know, it just as a fun exercise.
I'm gonna let me try. I'll read this. I'll do my best.
Yeah.
Looks like the last of her umbilical stump.
Hold on. Okay. Where we said no bad ideas a second ago? Because I'm going to go ahead and revoke that whole passage.
Yeah, no bar Sean Connery. Anyways, the joke, what we're getting at is he should have said horns and wings, not wings and horns.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better.
Yeah. That was an abomination of a bit.
Sean Connery's a fucking generous fucking label to that one. Oh,
okay.
Jesus Christ. What else? Is there anything else in this scene other than the massive time suck baby?
I love, maybe this is just because we pointed this out last week, but I'm looking at the sounds more here. The fwash, the crank, just great stuff.
Yeah, and they're all very good sort of like plot propellers, where it just like it's something usually to interrupt, which helps a lot with timing in comics, because timing is so tricky, and so if you have them like stopping what they're saying without that sound effect, then it kind of makes no sense logically.
I also just love the shots, everybody's reaction shot of the time suck before we get the time suck, where we get
good build up.
The like holy shit from Isabel, the God, I think it might be alive by Alana, who just looks like completely horrified, and then like I don't even know how I would describe Bar's face here, but it's great acting.
It's a great, like, Robert De Niro, what the fuck?
Yeah. He totally has a De Niro look, actually.
I would absolutely cast De Niro as Bar in a heartbeat.
And then we get my little baby.
Adorable little child. And yeah, I've read this issue, I've probably read half a dozen times. And
Yeah.
when reading this, I still just audibly, uncontrollably gasped
Yeah.
so loudly. It is so like, so the color scheme is, again, like that, we almost it's kind of purposely not a perfect transition.
Yeah.
Like, it feels so massive and majestic, and the scale of this thing is fucking absurd.
And like with the color scheme, one of the things they do that I love is that the planet is all black. Like the planet is deep black, and then you've got the orange exploding from it, right?
Yeah. So it feels like this weird reverse explosion in a way, where the things propelling outward are dark and the inside of it is bright, and it's such a cool way to draw your eye to it, and it's just gorgeous to look at. It is just total eye candy.
It is now, though, at this moment, that we need to have a moment of silence in memoriam of a great fallen character.
Well, I'm not sure if you noticed this, though, but the last panel we saw Fard in, you could just spot the hint of some Star Trek some Star Trek teleporting beams emerging around him. No, we lost our midwives. We lost Fard on this one.
Fard, we hardly knew ye. We fardly knew ye.
I'm both angry at you and you beat me to it.
But also, it's actually really important to mention Fard here, because there's an aspect of the design that I love, which is Fard had 3 eyes.
Yeah.
The Time Suck has 3 eyes. The Time Suck's 3 eyes look like the midwife's 3 eyes. All of this creates this sense that this whole planet, this whole living planet that had a society on it and stuff like this, is all part of an organism that goes back to the Time Suck. And all of this just serves a purpose of birthing the Time Suck into this world.
Created in Time Suck's image.
Exactly. and now we understand why the midwives are called the midwives.
Again, great fucking name. It's so good. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and recommend. You know what? I'll probably try to just animate this shot for the the video. But if I don't, or if you're not watching the video, go look up Time Suck double page splash from Saga, because it is just gorgeous. It's so breathtaking. I feel like you really, to experience it at its fullest, though, you just have to read the issue, and you have to have that immersion in those like smaller and smaller panels. That was another cool little thing they did, where it's like a wide panel and then a slightly smaller panel and then it's even smaller panel and then the massive explosion of a baby planet.
Oh.
It's so cool.
All right. I don't even want to turn the page, but I guess we have to continue.
You know what? And I'm gonna, because these two scenes kind of bleed into each other, I'm just gonna run through the rest of the book here.
Yeah. It's not that long.
Yep. So we have when we see that the onion ship show up at the end of the last page, we get the voiceover. Like I said, the ladies love my father, and then, but not all of them. And cut to Gwendolyn with Slave Girl and the Will and Lion Cat in the ship. And Slave Girl says that she can hear the rings out there, Miss Gwendolyn, floating in space. And then the Will says, which is very interesting, that the instruments aren't picking anything up. But Lion Cat says the girl's telling the truth, or at least believes what she's saying. And then Gwendolyn says, because my ex is smart enough to steal a ship that would never show up on your hot shit instruments. Gwendolyn's convinced that that them picking up Slave Girl was nothing but divine providence. And then the Will says, oh no. And it's the first time we've seen real terror on his face, as he says, it's a time suck.
No.
And so his response is just to hightail it out of there. Gwendolyn does not want to do that, but he says that, it's very much not worth dying for. But Gwendolyn insists on firing a missile at the rocket ship. And so she takes the initiative to do so and cut back into the rocket ship tree. Isabel says incoming, and the Clara immediately shouts out tree evasive maneuvers, and then Alana says belay that fucking order, full speed ahead. And she says that if we ram the missile, the missile only goes off if it's a safe enough distance from the ship that fired it. And so if we ram the missile and close the gap, then it will just bounce off the hull. Clara says, "You're going to ram a missile with a plant?" And Bart grabs her shoulder and says, "It's all right, Clara. Alana knows what she's doing." And then we get a fuck yeah from inside the ship as the missile bounces off the hull. And then cut back to the Will picking up Gwendolyn by the throat, pissed off that she would shoot a missile in proximity to Time Suck. And I'm going to go ahead and do the voiceover along with these panels because it kind of goes silent other than the voiceover with these events. But the Will drops Gwendolyn, and the voiceover says, "Dad once said that breakups are like battles." And then we cut to the missile detonating on the belly of a very upset Time Suck. Voiceover, they usually involve collateral damage. When former lovers fight, innocents get caught in the crossfire, and we see the Time Suck shooting out that same black ink from its eyes, almost like it's crying. And then we see that one of the black ink beams shoot through the hull of the Onion ship. Voiceover says, "In the end of a long-term relationship is so destructive it can impact friends, colleagues, people you've never even met." Cut to inside the Onion ship. The Will is holding on for dear life while everything, all the tiny little bits and baubles are getting sucked out of the ship. But that's the nice thing about collateral damage. By definition, it's completely incidental to the mission at hand. Gwendolyn holds on to Slave Girl as they try not to get sucked out of the ship. As long as the right people win, who cares if some random nobody gets hurt in the process? We see the Will looking back and shouting acceptable losses, etc. And then we get our final splash of the broken Onion ship.
No.
And everything floating, all the bits and pieces from the ship floating out in space, including one lying cat floating through space away from the Onion ship.
He's only sleeping. She's only sleeping.
Now she'll be sleeping lying cat forever.
You did this. I blame you.
I monkey paw wished this upon us. Oh no. Okay.
So anyways.
So I'm going to go ahead and propose one of the listeners go ahead and start a Horns and Wings Saga support group on Facebook.
Yeah.
For the people experiencing this book for the first time and
for the people who need to experience our podcast, they need a support group too.
It is for character deaths and impersonations. The emotional death of Sean Connery. But yeah, this is a fucking crazy issue, Noah. And I'm not coping well.
There's some stuff I want to talk about in this scene.
Let's do that and not cry.
So one thing the Will describes a Time Suck as an astrological super predator and says once saw one take out a whole armada, which is such a crazy image. Mm-hmm. And also implies that there are multiple astrological super predators, does it not?
Yeah, it does.
Like,
which is very interesting.
Oh, so cool. Like
the fact that they would have a label for that.
Yeah, right. yeah, because if there's only one, there's only one kind,
why make a category for it?
Yeah. Yeah, which is just, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see any more or anything, but it is just such a cool
Right.
piece of world building, and I don't need to see any more because I get that line that tells me there's more out there, and that this is a fucked up universe.
Yeah. Also, can we? It makes me so fucking happy anytime Alana gets to just be a total badass and know exactly what she's doing.
Yeah,
And they've been so consistent with the thing that she knows above anything else is ships because she was in the fucking military.
yeah,
And so of course she knows the intricacies, especially versus Clara, who, you know, they don't have that kind of technology on their side of the battle with the horns. And so I love that Alana is smart enough to know that if they ram into the fucking missile, then it will not detonate, and it's such a smart, cool maneuver
Yeah.
and moment.
and you get such a good like visual of it too with when the missile deflects off, it goes outside of the panel a little bit, and you
Yeah.
get this like you get this kind of image of it in space just bonking off.
Yeah. Also, we get a fuck yeah coming from inside the ship, and we have no real we have no for sure way of knowing who said it, but it's absolutely Alana.
Yeah. Yes. We know it's not Isabel.
yeah, because it doesn't have it, I have it narrowed down to Alana or Hazel. Because I'm in my head canon, it's Hazel's first words.
Hazel's first words are fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
The I also love that the way that you transition between spaceships is super cool here with the fuck yeah off the rocket ship tree, cut to the are you simple in the onion ship, and then you're back inside the onion ship.
Yeah.
It makes it really easy to kind of and smooth to keep track of all this stuff because there's a whole lot going on.
And it's also, again, these weird sort of just storytelling. I don't want to keep saying like filmmaking tricks, but just the storytelling they're doing by it sort of cutting to silence, except for the voiceover, because we're seeing a fucking nuke go off or whatever, and we're seeing like ships shattering, and there's no way. I would love to know what the fuck the time suck crying out noise would be, because that's got to be horrifying.
Yeah.
But I love this sort of implied silence, especially since everything we see now is in the vacuum of space.
Yeah.
And so that silence makes a lot of sense. And then get that foreboding voiceover leading up to sort of bracing you for the lion cat reveal that I don't want to acknowledge at all.
Well, and again, what I find is interesting too is like the leading up to the lion cat reveal, the panels are getting busier and busier and busier, and then you cut to this shot where it's like all this action is happening. Like you can kind of imagine like if we're using the film analogy, these fast shots with the voiceover, and then it just cuts to like no voiceover, no quick shots, just pure silence. And I mean, I swear to God, like looking at this page, you can see Lion Cat floating. Like you can see the motion.
Yeah. Oh man, it's our first like real significant loss of a character here.
I mean, we lost Isabel.
We lost Isabel, and that was like, I don't know, that flew by so fast that I feel like, because with that one I remember not being wholly convinced of her death, just because it was so inconsequential to the scene, and so like happened in such a flash. And like, you know, with how big of a deal they had made the death of like the Stalk.
Yeah, that's true.
That sort of made me not trust it as much, but this feels very final and very sad.
How can you say that when we lost Fard this earlier in this very same episode? It's very insensitive of you.
You know what? Fard's is flying through space right now. He's gonna grab Lion Cat.
Oh man,
Chuck Lion Cat into the rocket ship tree.
Can that be my spin-off where Fard just picks up Lion Cat and it's a buddy cop show between Fard and Lion Cat?
You know what? We dictate, technically, because there are people who listen to this that don't read the comics, so we can just say whatever we want as the story from this point on.
That's definitely how that works.
If you really zoom in on this last splash, you might see a big old ball sack rocketing our way. Yeah, come to save the day. Oh, man. Also, I just want to point out that in the things flying out of the ship when everything's getting sucked out of the ship is very consistent with what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I picked that up too.
It's
sex
the cactos. It's the cactos, which are like the Fruit Loops and the bowls, and then the sex tapes on the which are just VHSs, which is fucking great. Like, it is just a straight up VHS.
Yeah.
And then a box of tissues. it's just everything we know about the will getting sucked out into space.
I love the use. I mean, I think this is what really interesting too is Fiona Staples tends to use like color palettes that aren't often that are unique, right? Are not overdone.
Yeah.
But the use of the like blue and orange color palette in the shot of the time suck with the missile exploding is so perfect. Like it's a pretty cliched color palette, but it looks so beautiful and so innovative here.
Yeah. Also, I love the reaction shot of the time suck and how it's almost cartoony. Like, that's not where its mouth should be logically, because its mouth is sort of off to the side, and it's almost like a Sonic the Hedgehog like 3/4 turn
like
mouth where it's playing to the camera, and then we cut to the next panel where its mouth is actually under its eyes, and I love just like to make it even more otherworldly and fucking bizarre, like just that expression on it. We even get kind of the suggestion of a nose there a bit with the shading across its face when the missile's going off.
Yeah,
which is interesting. But yeah, it's fantastic. Oh my god, so many good character designs. This is such a good issue. Holy shit.
Yeah, this issue, Jesus. And then actually just the rest of this arc from here on out, guys, buckle the fuck up. Because shit's about to get
the buck up.
So good. Fuckle the buck up. Should we? Is it time?
Is it time?
Is it time for that great music?
Well, hold on. First, I want to do favorite moment, because we both had the same favorite moment, and let's just get it out of the way.
It's very obviously, yeah, it is the death of Fard. It is the time suck. This is if I needed to pick favorite moment of Saga as an entire fucking series, this would probably be it.
This is just in terms of emotional reaction to something that's not a death, I guess. Like this is almost comparable to, like, you know, the portals showing up at the end of Avengers, and like just fucking just great, just majestic, very cinematic moments. It's so
actually know what it makes me think of actually is the light speed shot in Last Jedi.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then you get that sort of implied just like terrifying silence.
Yeah.
No, I love it. And yeah, let's play a little ditty for us, and that is the question of the week music.
I was just singing the Mario theme when you have the star.
I thought it was like do 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 do. Come on,
touch me, baby.
All right. Well, there's our theme music. But then there's this good music too. Hey. All right. So do you have a question of the week?
I had a thought.
Mm-hmm.
What other astrological super predators might exist in this world?
Ooh, yeah. What would I guess not world, but galaxy.
If if you could design an astrological super predator, what would it look like? If you are an artist and you feel like drawing an astrological super predator, fuck yeah, that'd be real cool.
Yeah. Or if you see someone else's suggestion that you like, then and you want to make your own adaptation of that. I really want to. We got to start remembering to actually answer our own questions during the Between the Arcs episodes.
Oh yeah.
Because I think we totally forgot to do that. But yeah, I want to give people some good fan art inspiration here for all that fan art we get all the time, every day. And I'm gonna throw in a question here too. Inspired by that cool little ball and chain at the beginning. What's your favorite piece of tech so far that you've seen?
Ooh.
And including weapons, I'm gonna say, because the lance is up there for me for sure. That's the
lance
first one that comes
pretty
to
cool.
mind. But we've seen a lot of cool little space techs. So those are the 2 questions a week. And do you have a song suggestion?
Oh, I have a song. So
really quick, did you is it something that would play during the time suck
yes.
part? Okay,
Yes.
I do too. So I'm interested to see.
All right. So Echoes
By
Pink Floyd.
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah,
Echoes,
yeah.
Echoes, like the Echoes.
Yeah.
Particularly
Okay.
the part after the whale song breakdown, when the song comes back in.
Yeah. Oh, that's fucking awesome.
And you have this little section, like, it comes back in, and then it's all kind of, like, fast and dun-dun-dun as all the craziness is happening.
So add that to the Spotify playlist, and then so my big thing, I love when there are big like just bellowing like tubas and stuff, like big horns.
Yeah.
Anytime there's like especially in kaiju films and stuff, like Pacific Rim, there's a bit where there's just like some big tubas that come in and on the reveal of a kaiju, and it's fucking awesome. So with that in mind, I'm gonna suggest Genesis by Justice in that big opening, the bomb, bomb, bomb. And go check that one out, and check both of those out, and just stare at the time suck. And it's going to be a good use of like 6 minutes because it's fucking awesome.
Oh, no, Echoes is 23 minutes long, so
That's fucking true. But that bit, someone put on Spotify, the Spotify playlist that I'm sure exists,
the timestamp, the specific timestamp, yep.
Which you can totally do on Spotify. And yeah, that we did a whole thing. That's a whole episode right there from one of the fucking best issues there is.
So let me ask you something. If people liked this, what can they do?
I've learned to just sit back and let you think. Let's see what you think a transition is. Because it's very revealing. I learn a lot about you every time. Well, they could subscribe to the podcast, and they could leave a review, and just to be cool about that, I guess. And then if you want to respond to our questions of the week, either go to the pinned comment on the YouTube version of this episode of the podcast and reply to that, or go to our Twitter page, and if you're listening to this the week of, it'll be the pinned comment on there, and just reply to that. If you want to find me on Twitter too, hit up at Jonathan Oscar, JohnAthonoscar, and youtube.com/MakeStuffStudios. We're still doing those awesome Pretty Deadly videos. The trailer was a big hit, and I'm pumped about it.
Yeah, actually, I feel like you should maybe tell us a bit about that, what you did.
Yeah, but they didn't pay that ad money for this, though. No, I gotta be withholding. No. We made a cool little trailer for the new volume of Pretty Deadly, which, by the way, anyone, if you haven't read Pretty Deadly before, this is a great jumping on point. It's honestly like I've read the first issue, and it's one of my favorite issues of the entire series, and it's so fucking cool. But yeah, I'm doing some videos with the creators, and I had my whole anecdote last week about getting notes from all my favorite people. But like now I've now experienced the result of putting out that trailer, and it turns out that you get some cool people retweeting you if you do a thing for Kelly Sue DeConnick and Emma Rios. But like fucking Scott Snyder, writer of Batman and Witches and a lot of great shit, followed me on Twitter and all this bonkers stuff. So I'm famous now, and I'm leaving the podcast to follow my fame.
Okay, well, it was great to know you. I'll be back with an all new solo episode next week.
You're gonna be joined by Fard, who has a bizarrely similar voice to the
Hey,
witches
I'm
earlier.
farting here.
God. Jesus
I hate
Christ.
myself so much.
I hate yourself too. Where can people find you, Noah? Just specifically to beat the shit out of you.
So my address is 955. You can find me on Twitter at Watch Polyphonic. Message me, hit me up. You can find me on YouTube.
Polyphonic?
Yeah, I'm filthy. I need to be washed.
It must have gotten pretty bad if you have to make a Twitter handle about it.
No, that's actually the hashtag that's trending right now from anyone that's ever hung out with me. They just really want me to be washed.
By the way, if you don't think I'm getting on Twitter right now to grab the Wash Polyphonic handle, you're fucking insane. Go ahead with the rest of your plugs while I grab this.
The other thing that I would say, also go see my channel, Polyphonic on YouTube. And here's a suggestion that I have. If you like the concept of the time suck and that whole kind of interconnected world thing, you should check out a book called Speaker for the Dead. It's the sequel to Ender's Game. It's by noted shitbag Orson Scott Card.
Yeah.
Buy it in a used bookstore.
There you
Don't
go.
send a penny of your money to supporting his homophobic trash. But it's a really, really good book. And I feel like you'd enjoy it a lot. So if you're looking for something kind of related reading, there's that. And that's what it'll say. And also watch me on YouTube.
Nice. Sorry, I'm just typing in Wash Polyphonic. And as always, big shout out to Fiona Staples, Brian K. Vaughan, Phonographics, and Image Comics for making the best dang time suck of a book in the dang galaxy. And how are we leaving this one off, Noah?
Oh, it's going to be the classic. Until next week, Fard will eat your souls and piss them out Fard's anus.
See, that has such a sad.
All right, yeah, I think I need to retire it after this. I think we might need
R.I.P.
to. R.I.P. Fard.
Some new terrible shitty catchphrase.
Yeah.
All right, bye.